Tonight was our first meeting of December, December 3rd, and we started at 6 o'clock with resolutions and proclamations. And the first one was a long-term company in Anderson that has a wonderful reputation, and that's Timken and Honeypath. And we wanted to celebrate their 50th anniversary. We had a representative from Timken come up, and we appreciate our industry. We want them to be here for 50 more years, and that was a positive award. From there, we recognized the 12 and under Wren Hurricane tackle football team. And these boys were super excited, and an exceptional performance in the 2019 12 and under Tri-County champions. So a bunch of young men were up here with their family, and we were glad and very excited for them and wanted to honor them from council. From there, we did a proclamation for Arbor Day Month. And you know, trees are part of our community in the foothills of South Carolina. They're beautiful. We enjoy them for landscape, ambiance, and they have a positive effect on our lives. So we wanted to point out that December was Arbor Month and to promote the conservation and the use of trees. From there, at 6:30, we went into our regular meeting session. And like always, we start off with the invocation and pledge, and then we go into third, second, and first readings, because anything that goes through council goes through 3 readings. So at any point in the council meeting, it could be in the first, second, or third reading. But before that happened, we heard from one citizen who actually come from another county who spoke in favor of body cameras, which was going to be an agenda item. From there, we heard from the United Housing Connections, and this is a nonprofit group that analyzes homeless data across the state. They work with other nonprofits to try to provide solutions and understanding across communities to help people in need, whether they be homeless adults or children or families. So it was a positive presentation. It's always heartbreaking to know that anybody's out there facing this, but it is encouraging to know that we do have groups, and we have a council here that's always supported these efforts. From there, we went in the third reading, and one of them was just rezoning. You know, periodically people want to rezone residential to commercial or commercial to residential, or they're changing up farmland. So this was a routine of nature. We, in third reading, went through an update of our procurement code agreements to be more inclusive and to codify those efforts. And then we went into 3 in a row that talked about joint county economic development. And this is a level of paperwork, but it's where we're working with other counties to provide incentives for the businesses in our county. From there, we went in the first reading, and being from Pendleton and going to school up there, I was excited. They have a project up there where the town of Pendleton is working with the county of Anderson, where we hope to have an apartment complex and an abandoned site. And over 20 years, this will bring $700,000 in extra revenue, and be a potential $15 million capital investment. So very exciting to be working with the town of Pendleton. And as always, the county works with the towns and the cities because they're in the county and they're residents also, and we want to work together and see them prosper. From there, we did another rezoning, and really the meat of the night was a report from the Finance Committee meeting. We approved the minutes, and we went through a sewer project where we bid out to multiple contractors and make sure that they can deliver at a good cost and in a timely fashion and a certain level of quality. The big item of the night was body cameras, and our sheriff's department had come forward with a plan to implement approximately 120 officers with body cameras. And this is a 5-year plan, with year 1 being around $180,000, with years 2 through 5 being around $130,000 to continue the process. And this is the process of actually providing the physical camera on the chest of the officer, but also storing the data and be able to retrieve it and cross-coordinate it through the departments. The good news is, through the diligence of our sheriff's department, year 1 will be totally offset by federal grants. And they're hoping that a large portion of year 2 through 5 that will be offset by grants. But this is something that is part of the modernization of the police department. or our sheriff's department, and it came in a priority list as they've been working to make sure that police officers have body armor, that they have appropriate cars, they were receiving appropriate pay, morale was good, and we believe that this is something that with technological advances that's expected of a county of our size, and it can protect officers and provide transparency and trust in the community. So it's something that was brought forth as a recommendation from the Finance Committee and then subsequently was approved by the entire council. So this was a positive thing that the county worked together with on the Sheriff's Department. From there, we did some routine things with transfers at the end of the calendar year where some departments needed extra capital. And then we talked about long-term debt and financing and how the cash flows work with the county, and had a positive discussion.
The Finance Committee, for people who might not know, it's open to the public, and y'all go through sort of the meat and potatoes of it before you bring it to full council for recommendation.
Yeah. Anytime we have a council meeting, we can have multiple line items of things to discuss, and each one of those line items could go in depth into an hour or two of discussion. So just the nature of the county council meeting, we don't always have time to go with a fine-tooth comb through every detail. So we break these items up into what we call subcommittee meetings. And the finance subcommittee is made up of 3 council members, which I chair, and we hear from recommendations from other committees. So if there's a solid waste committee or a public safety committee or a parks and rec committee where they lay forth initiatives, and the finance committee takes those recommendations and tries to reconcile it with the budget to make sure that we're adequately funding items that are of priority to council, and that we're reconciling the priorities with other departments. So what ends up happening is when we have a committee meeting, it is open to the public. It's advertised, and it's held here in the historic courthouse in the boardroom. Citizens are encouraged to come and ask questions and see an abundant amount of details, and then we take a recommendation and bring it to the full council. Sometimes at council, we will actually go back into those details. It's the subcommittee brings a recommendation to council, and that means 3 of us have looked at it in detail. We've conferred with staff. We're making this recommendation to move forward. The full council receives those recommendations ahead of time, along with the public, so they can read through them, and then we can delve back into it in council. But that's how the process works. It seems to work efficiently, but we always want the citizens to know that all steps of that process is open to them, and we encourage them to participate. From there, we had one request from council for a recreation request, which was approved, and then we gave general comments. And so typically as the calendar year winds up and Christmas is approaching, we're winding down business, but we'll still have our regular scheduled meeting on the 3rd Tuesday, but this one will be actually at noon. So instead of our 6:30 time, this one will be at noon, the 3rd Tuesday of this month before Christmas, and we'll be wrapping up things for the calendar year, and then taking a brief break at Christmas to be back in January where things will start speeding up again.